What a day for a daydream, custom made for a daydreaming boy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you guys doing? Are you ready for spring? Welcome to Tom's Cabin. Let's talk books. We got a great show for you this week. We've got a great show for you this week. We got some news, latest books, audiobooks, and of course, yours truly. Um, We got a great show for you this week. We've got a award-winning author that specializes in true crime, former police officer. We have the latest news in publishing and books, and audiobooks, of course. We've got a new promo video about one of my latest novels. And of course, you can always go see me at www.authortommcauliffe.com right there at the bottom of the screen. I hope you're doing well. I got my new tie-dye shirt that I got for Christmas. That's kind of exciting. And what else? What else we got going on? Things have been going good. Thank you for your emails. I wish some of you guys wouldn't be such cowards and actually come on the air. I'm only kidding. But I know some people are shy, especially, it's kind of interesting. Um, I meet a lot of authors, and almost to a person, they are pretty introverted. Yeah. Once in a while, you'll meet one that's very extrovert. And not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying, um, in general, as a species, we are very introverted. Um, Coming up, we've got the books of the Irish. Um, we just had a wonderful episode about books about Ireland and the Irish. So look that up and look up our over 40 episodes now in our library. A lot of great interviews there. Sylvia Hubbard from the Motown Writers folks. You can tell that I do a lot of stuff in Michigan because I used to live there. And of course, here in the beautiful Sunshine State as well. So, without further ado, let's go. We've had a lot of great guests on the show, and this week is no exception. Rod Sadler, I hope I'm saying that right. Rod Sadler worked as a police officer in mid-Michigan for 30 years, and he retired in 2012. And he began researching his first book after discovering the story of a brutal 1897 murder in Williamston, Michigan. That's where he had grown up. While obtaining his bachelor's degree late in his law enforcement career, he rediscovered his love for writing and decided to write about what he knows: true crime. It's going to be refreshing to read some of his books from from the perspective of somebody who was actually there and did the investigation. I'm really, really looking forward to it. He travels across Michigan frequently speaking about his books. His novel entitled Killing Women, The True Story of Don Miller's Reign of Terror, was the backdrop for no less than three documentaries after it was published. One of his most recent books, Grim Paradise, The Cold Case Search for the Mackinac Island Killer, received the UP Notable Award from the UPAA. His books have been very well received. If you're into mystery and true crime, this is kind of interesting. It's almost like a cold case files. Rod has published five books, and they are based kind of in the mitten. And they're true crime books. And in those, you're going to find an enormous amount. I was impressed just in looking over the depth of the five books, his attention to detail, and the intricacies of crime investigation. His latest book, Depraved Obsession, the gripping true story of law enforcement's hunt for a sadistic serial killer. Dun, 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 dun. It launched last year to wide acclaim. Please help me welcome author, Officer Rod Sadler. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome,
Hey,
welcome.
thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Um, Now you're from Michigan,
Yes,
as am I, and you are an award-winning author with 5 books out and a
yes,
former police officer.
yes.
So thank you for your service.
Well, thank
And
you. I appreciate that.
well, let's talk a little bit about it. Now, you specialize in true crime, which is an area near and dear to my heart. But for those that don't know, how is like true crime as a genre a little bit different than, say, cozy mysteries?
Well, with true crime, I strive, as I think most true crime authors do, you have to strive for accuracy. Um, Accuracy and brevity and clarity, the ABCs of police work in report writing. You need to be accurate in what you're writing about, and you have to be able to be clear about what you're trying to explain in a very brief period. Otherwise, you end up with a 800 or 900 page book. And so, I would say that's a little different than writing a mystery where you're kind of making stuff up. It's fictional. Um, you really have a bigger artistic license than I think than you do with true crime.
So all of your books are based on real world cases.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All Michigan-based true crime.
Outstanding. That's interesting. Um, just out of curiosity, when you do a case like that, do you have to notify the people that you're writing about, or how does that approval does the police force
Hmm.
have to give you permission to cover that case, or?
Well, no, not really. It depends on the case, really. And I'll give you an example. I wrote my first book about a murder in 1897. And so not really a lot of people to talk to about writing that book. Um, My latest book, which is called Depraved Obsession, was about a serial killer in 1985. Did I reach out to the victim's family? No, I did not. However, I did reach out to the police agencies that were involved, some of the investigators, things like that. And that's been the case with my last 3 books, Grim Paradise and Killing Women. I did reach out to some family members on Killing Women, only because they were local people. They were easy to find. And so beyond that, I typically try to submit a Freedom of Information request to the police agency to actually get the police reports. And that really helps with clarity and accuracy in my writing.
Yeah, let's go back to that because think that's just a gem. The ABCs of writing. What are they?
Accuracy, brevity, and clarity.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that one on the wall.
Yeah, it's a good one, believe me.
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead of us. So let me just go back for a second. You grew up in a small town.
I did. I grew up in Williamston, Michigan, a town of, well, back when I was growing up, it was about 2,000 people. It's probably around 3 or 4,000 now. And it was actually where that first murder that I wrote about occurred in 1897.
Must have been fascinating going back and researching that time. And I'm sure there's archives somewhere or something like that.
Well, there is. It's funny you should mention that because I started really all I had to go on was newspaper articles, and there was a ton of them. And I often wondered, because the murder was so bizarre and so grisly, I wondered if maybe the media had taken a little artistic license in describing the scene. And then I thought, hey, I wonder if the Michigan Archives has anything on this case. And lo and behold, they had the original court file. And so I went up there and oh yeah, and I opened up this folder. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's fascinating. But I opened up this folder, and the first document I see was my oh, I forgot to tell you, my great great grandfather was the sheriff in Ingham County at the time of the murder. And
Wow.
he investigated the murder. And so when I opened that folder up, the first document I see is my great great grandfather's handwritten report of the murder. And let me tell you something. The media didn't need any artistic license in describing that murder scene because he wrote exactly what he saw. And it was um, macabre, to say the least.
Wow. You, when you were growing up, did you always write? Were you always a writer, and did you like writing when you were growing up?
No, I hated it.
Really?
I really did. I started writing. I went back to college late in my career and got my bachelor's degree. And I went to Spring Arbor University. And in that curriculum, we did not take tests. Everything was writing papers. We even wrote a thesis for a bachelor's degree. And I discovered really at that time how much I enjoyed writing. And that was probably around 2005.
Yeah. And when you became a police officer and such like that, did you automatically specialize? I know that there are subspecialties within law enforcement. Did you always want to be like a detective and an investigator?
No, I have to tell you, I was promoted to sergeant in 1999, and that was the best kept secret of the department. That was a great position. I, I really didn't, I really didn't need to go in and be a detective beyond that. I mean, I supervised enough crime scenes that I knew what the detectives did, and it was really a cooperative effort between the road patrol and the detective bureau. I did specialize in a couple things. I was our chief traffic crash investigator. So, in the middle of the night, if there was a fatal traffic crash, guess whose phone would be ringing? It would be mine.
Oh, joy.
Um, yeah, and I also was our police composite artist. So
Wow.
I
So you
yeah,
draw.
so I drew all the bad guys. Yeah,
How about that? How about that? Why do they all
yeah.
look the same?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of the Andy Griffith Show, and everybody always teased me. They said, all your drawings look like Don Knotts.
Um, well, when you think back to your career, what was the most interesting case?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I had some really good, uh, I hate to use the term good, but I had some pretty spectacular traffic crashes that resulted in criminal charges. Uh, and I can remember one of the first times we were able to actually get a second degree murder conviction from a traffic crash was really one of the highlights of my career as a crash investigator.
Has technology assisted you guys in cracking some of these cases?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can tell you with regard to traffic crashes, there's all sorts of software out there. You used to have a calculator and be pretty good with math. Now you just plug in the numbers and it gives you the answers. But as far as in a like a murder investigation, or maybe there's a breaking and entering where you've got a bunch of blood. The DNA technology that's out today is absolutely it's mind-boggling. It really is. And if you don't follow some of the websites out there like Othram Labs in Texas, they are solving cases, John Doe cases, murder cases, literally every day of the week. It is absolutely fascinating.
Is a John Doe case and a cold case the same thing?
Well, John Doe case might just simply be an unidentified body. Let's say somebody drowned, and they don't know who it is, and it's sat for years. So yeah, I guess it could be a cold case, but when I refer to cold cases, I'm referring to like a homicide investigation.
Um, I want to bring up one thing. I write a lot of thrillers, and in one of my Kill or Be Killed, it's about a CIA agent who wants to be a lounge singer. He thinks he's Frank Sinatra.
Okay,
I have an FBI agent that is an advisor for me to make sure
sure.
that the books are accurate. He told me this, and I wrote it into the book. So the crime scene guy is there taking pictures.
Hmm.
There is a overturned wine glass on the table.
Okay.
They develop the pictures. The pictures are there on the desk. They're looking through them, talking about them. He pokes up the picture and he notices that on the wine glass, there's a huge thumbprint.
Hmm.
The crime lab blows up the picture and pulls the fingerprint off of the wine glass in the picture. And that's how they found the guy.
Interesting. Is that legitimately a true
That's
scenario?
that's what he said. That's how the FBI found
Wow.
him.
Wow.
Um, and that kind of leads me to my other question. Do you think that, like I heard that in Japan, they have like a 90% conviction rate or something like that. Do you think that most criminals secretly want to be caught?
No, I would say no. I
No.
would say no. That's just my opinion. Uh, I would say no. If you look at, I'll give you a quick example because I was researching this for one of my books. Back in the 50s and the 60s, uh, you would get a solvability rate on homicide cases of like 75, 85, 90%. Today, not even close.
Wow.
Not even close. Yeah. It's very much lower than that. Like down in the 20s and 30s.
Well, now that you're, a big time author and everything like that, when you're at dinner parties and people find out you were a cop, do you find that they kind of straighten up a little bit? They start, they're a little bit. My uncle used to say that. He used to say, when people find out you're a police officer, everybody kind of straightens up a little bit. And
Well, you know what? It's funny when I was younger in my early police career back in the 80s, I'd go to let's say a party at my folks' house, and my parents would introduce me to somebody that they knew, and they would always go, "He's the cop," and it's like, come on, mom.
yeah, like you're going to
People don't need to know that.
arrest them during the second course or
Exactly.
something.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the other just general question, because I rarely get a chance to talk to somebody with your background. You think we're more violent today than we used to be?
Oh, absolutely. 100% believe that. I think that social media, well, I'll give you another example. My brother told me one day he thinks social media is the Antichrist. And there are days that I truly believe that. I try to stay away from politics, but I truly believe that social media has emboldened people, given them false courage, if you will. And I, I think that that's gone a long way to feed violence in this country. And I believe that I got out of police work just in the nick of time back in 2012. It's only gotten worse, and God bless the men in blue, so to speak, and I use that term broadly, that are out there fighting the good fight.
Let's give them the money to buy their bulletproof vests.
Absolutely.
I was
Absolutely.
outraged. I was outraged when I found out that he has to buy his own bulletproof vest, and it's like six
Oh,
or
yeah.
700 bucks.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of agencies like that out there. Um, it's a strange world we live in today. It really is.
All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your writing process. But first, what's next? What's coming up? Can you let us in on any cases that you're working
Oh,
on?
yes and no. I can tell you, I, I, I actually am working on two books right now, which is a real challenge, because there's a lot of research involved in true crime. And so, I travel a lot, doing book talks and doing research. One of those involves a quadruple murder from 1934. And the second book is, all I can say is that it involves a very active cold case, and I will leave it at that.
Are all your books cold cases and unsolvable murders and such?
No, no, actually not. I, I've become the type of writer that likes to write a book for a purpose, and by that I mean that, for instance, my 3 books ago, Killing Women, was about East Lansing serial killer Don Miller. And when I interviewed one of the victim's sisters, she said, I want to know why you're writing the book. Well, no one had ever asked me that. And so I told her, I said, people have forgotten who Don Miller is. People have forgotten what Don Miller did. And people need to know that Don Miller is getting out of prison in 2031.
Mm.
And it's a long story. It's a 484 page book. But that's the reason that I wrote it, because people had forgotten what he did, people had forgotten who he was, and people needed to know he's getting out of prison. My book after that, Grim Paradise, Cold Case Search for the Mackinac Island Killer. I wrote that book because it's a cold case, and a new set of eyes, I felt, may generate some new leads. My latest book, Depraved Obsession, about a child killer in the Brighton area in the mid 80s, murdered 2 kids. I believe there are other victims out there. That's why I wrote that book. And so, really, the book about the that's coming up about the quadruple murder in 1934, as tragic as that whole situation was, is just a fun book for me to write because it's historical. But the cold case book beyond that that I'm working on, uh, I believe there's a possibility that we might generate some new leads in that case.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's what I really am enjoying, a little bit surprisingly, um, reading about. I know where Brighton is. I've been in Brighton. I know
Oh,
where
sure.
Williston is. And to be able to read that within the novel is really kind of cool. But let me just key in on one thing that you said. Let's talk a little bit about your writing process.
Okay.
Would you consider yourself a planner or a pantser? Do you sit down at the typewriter or the computer and just start writing and let it flow out? Or do you actually, I mean, I know some authors have a spreadsheet and they're actually everything's planned out. Would you say you're a planner or a pantster?
I would say I'm more of a planner, because I kind of have an idea in my head how I want this to start and how I want it to progress until the end. And sometimes that's a challenge. I think in a couple cases I've actually laid out an outline, but I don't do that all the time. I think with my first book, uh, it was more, it wasn't planned out like the current day true crime books are that I write, because it was more historical. But typically like to plan them out, and know how I'm going to start them and how I want them to end.
Do you ever find after the novel comes out and people get to know it and it gets the publicity and stuff that more information comes to you, like in that book, The Grim Mackinac Island Killer? Did you get some additional information?
I did. Actually, in that case is 65, 66 years old. Uh, and it's an unsolved murder on Mackinac Island. The book came out, um, and about 8 months later, I got an email from a guy in North Carolina that thinks his grandfather committed the murder. And he had some very compelling evidence to suggest that he might be accurate in that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said, "Well, did you read the book?" And he said, "No, I heard about it on a podcast." And he said the hair on my neck stood up, and I knew, he said, "I knew my grandfather had committed that murder." And so I was like, "Whoa." He sent me the evidence that he had. I forwarded on to the state police, and we're still working on it.
Wow,
It's crazy.
that's amazing. You're solving crimes even now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Um, just want to talk a little bit about the publishing business in general. As you know, AI is all over, and it is a two-edged sword. Um, my sister, for example, was telling me she's a nurse practitioner there in Michigan, and she's got a lot of friends at CID the Center for Disease Control,
Oh,
CDC,
CDC.
and she tells me that AI is really making inroads in dealing with infectious diseases, and we've mapped the human genome now, so that's the positive side. The other side is, I don't know about you, but there is a lot of AI generated crap, excuse my French,
Oh, oh
on
yeah.
Amazon and Kindle. Um, well, I guess my question is, what do you think about AI? And if an author uses, and I differentiate between generative AI, where you give a prompt and it spits out 20,000 words, and assisted AI, like for grammar, sentence structure, that kind of thing. Two differences there. But in generative AI, um, do you think that if an author uses AI, they should notify the reader?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm a traditionalist. Uh, you talk to a young writer that's maybe 25, they may see things different. Uh, I'm I'm the kind of guy that I won't use AI for writing purposes. Now, I will give you an example. My wife and I are putting in a bar down in our basement, and so we took AI and we said, "Hey, put some barn wood on this and let on this picture, and let's see what it looks like." And boom, it spit it out. Uh, it's great for that, but for writing, no, I don't consider myself a good writer, although if you talk to the people that read my books, they will disagree with you. Um, but I still would not use AI to write a book. I
Well,
really wouldn't.
let me just interrupt you for a second. As someone who's been doing this crazy business since I was a teenager, Cream magazine, editor of a national magazine, on and on. Um, you got it. You know how to put a sentence together, and you know how to weave a story that makes me want to turn the page.
Oh,
And
well, thank you.
you can quote me on that. Um, so the AI, um, I always ask my guests this question. If there was one thing that you wished readers knew about a book of yours or your books, what would it be?
They're going to find information about a specific crime that was never released to the public. And that's what I strive for. I may look at a lot of newspaper articles to get information, but what you're going to find beyond just newspaper article references is personal interviews with investigators, with family members, with news reporters, all things like that. And you're going to find a lot of information that was never released to the public and was never put in the media.
Very interesting. Yeah. Um, well, when your new book comes out, will you come back and talk to us about it?
Oh, absolutely, I
Because
will. You can
because I
plan on
find
it.
I find what you do just fascinating, just fascinating. Where can folks find you? I assume that you're on Amazon, Kindle, bookstores. Where can they find you?
Absolutely. My biggest personal marketing thing is the platform that I use the most is Facebook. Rod Sadler, author. You'll find all my book releases, and you might even find some funny stuff on there. I'm also on X. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. If you search my name, just a Google search, you'll find all sorts of stuff about my books. You can find them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Schuler Books. Any bookstore can order them for you. I was really tickled when Cops and Donuts in Michigan. I don't know if you've heard of Cops and Donuts, but
No.
for those people who have not, it is the Clare City Bakery. Clare is about halfway to Michigan's northern country in the center of the state, and they were going out of business years ago. And 11 or 13 cops from up there bought it and renamed it Cops and Donuts. And I asked them, I said, would you carry my books? And they said, yeah. And I was just tickled to death that they would do that. So if you're in Michigan and you're stopping at Cops and Donuts, you can find them there too.
I'll make it a point. We come up every year in the summer. I'm living down here in Florida, the land of the blue hair. Um, and last year, I've got a new book out called The Edmund Fitzgerald Without a Trace. That
Oh,
came out in November, the 75th anniversary, and it's doing extremely well. And we went to Whitefish Point and the Coast Guard Museum there, and just love the mitten. It's the only place in
oh
the
yeah,
world where you can hold up your hand and say, I come from right over there.
absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
And you mentioned basements. As a person living in Florida, boy, that brought back just a flood of memories just right there. We used to have had a pool room down there, a ping pong room, whatever. And of course, all the houses here in Florida, we don't have
No
basements.
basements, no basements.
So,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
also don't have minus 25 degree weather.
yeah, yeah. It's a bit nipply up here right now.
Well, Mr. Rod, thank you so much for coming by, and I hope you'll come by again and see us. Is there a web address that they should go to?
Absolutely. Rodsadler.com. And on that page, you can actually find a signed copy button on the home page. Click that, and you can order a signed copy directly from me. And you can indicate how you'd like it signed, and um, I'll ship it out to you. So,
What a great idea. What a great idea. We'll have all that information in the show notes and the link at the bottom of the screen. Rod Sadler, thank you so much for coming by. Come back and see us again soon, will you?
absolutely plan on it, Tom. Thank you.
God bless.
Take care.
From the sea, from the air, from the land, the latest in news and perspectives on books and music here at Tom's Cabin. I've been hard at work in the lab working on some promo videos. It's a really rough time in our country today. But put on your laughing hat. It's time for the jokes of the week. What else? What else we got going? Things have been going good. Thank you for your emails. I wish some of you guys wouldn't be such cowards and actually come on the air. I'm only kidding. But I know some people are shy, especially, it's kind of interesting. Um, I meet a lot of authors, and almost to a person, they are pretty introverted. Yeah. Once in a while, you'll meet one that's very extrovert. And not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying, um, in general, as a species, we are very introverted. Um, Coming up, we've got the books of the Irish. Um, we just had a wonderful episode about books about Ireland and the Irish. So look that up and look up our wow, over 40 episodes now in our library. A lot of great interviews there. Sylvia Hubbard from the Motown Writers folks. You can tell that I do a lot of stuff in Michigan because I used to live there. And of course, here in the beautiful Sunshine State as well. So, being an author is very rewarding. And there is a difference between a writer and an author. Not saying that one is better than the other, but millions of people are writers, but few run the gauntlet of becoming a published author. And I'm super excited. My mentor tells me that I should talk more about my own books. All right, we'll do a little bit of that. My latest one, U166. Let's see if I can get this. The Disappearing Book Act. U166 um, is out now and doing really, really well. U166, Gulf of Mexico, 1942, about the only Nazi submarine that was ever sunk in the Gulf of Mexico. They basically came across the wreck in like 5,000 feet of water while they were surveying for an underwater oil pipeline, back in 2008.